sports stadiums have been seeing a surge in spectators this season as friends and families gather to partake in cheering their teams on. So what are pundits saying about the surge in crowds at stadiums? What makes Korea's baseball cheering culture unique? And what have been some of the latest efforts to ensure sportsmanship? Hello and welcome to Wednesday's edition of Issues and Insiders. I'm Min Sunhee. Today we speak about the surge in spectators at sports stadiums this season and more. For this, I have sportscaster Jason Lee here in the studio. Jason, it's good to have you here.
Good to be here. Thank you.
I also have Yoo Jeeho, a sports writer at Yonhap News Agency, live on the line. Jeeho, it's great to see you again.
Yeah, it's great to be here too.
Jason, before we delve into the growing crowds at sports stadiums, let's touch upon the highlights from Tuesday's regional qualifier for the 2026 World Cup between South Korea and China. What were your major takeaways?
Well, I think before the game even started, the first thing to consider was that Korea was already qualified for the next round because they had 4 wins and 1 draw going into the game. So they really didn't have to win. They could have lost, they could have tied, it didn't matter. But they chose to play the stars. So Son Heung-min, excuse me, Son Heung-min as well as Lee Gang-in, they played as well as pretty much the regular starting lineup. And in the end, it actually was Son Heung-min and Lee Gang-in who connected for the lone goal of the game, leading Korea to a 1-0 victory. And I would say even though Korea led for the entire second half, they were attacking the entire time. So they weren't trying to preserve a 1-0 lead. They were aggressive. They attacked right into injury time of the second half. So I think Korea definitely looked good. And the fact that all the stars played to entertain the home crowd, I think was great to see.
Right. And Gio, what are your prospects regarding Team Korea's journey to the 2026 World Cup?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I was at the match last night and my ears are still ringing from all the crowd noise of close to 65,000 people gathered at the Seoul World Cup Stadium. Now, by winning last night's match, Korea actually did themselves a lot of favor for the next round. They're going to be one of the top 3 teams in the Asian Football Confederation in the FIFA rankings going into the next round behind Japan and Iran. So, that means in the draw taking place on the 27th of this month, Korea is going to avoid being in the same group with Japan and Iran. And that's really an ideal situation. You don't want to play those 2 teams a couple of times during the group stage of the 3rd round. So I think the path to the World Cup in 2 years' time, I think it's gotten a little clearer for Korea. And also, 2026 World Cup will be co-hosted by the U.S., Canada, and Mexico. And it's going to be the first edition to feature 48 countries, up from 32. So there's going to be 4 additional quota spaces available for Asian teams, up from 4 direct slots to 8 direct spaces for Asian teams. So I guess for a team of Korea's caliber, it's going to be difficult not to qualify for one of the 8 spots directly. So Korea, I think, should be able to get into the World Cup with relative ease in the 3rd round. You just have to finish in the top 2 in their group out of 6 countries. So I predict a relatively easy path to the 2026 World Cup. I guess it's a matter of how they're going to do in the tournament proper, as opposed to they just trying to get into the World Cup in the first place.
Right, Gio. Good to know. Good to know. And Jason, now do tell us a bit about the surge in spectators at sports stadiums here in the country in recent times.
Yeah, there clearly has been a huge surge in fans, especially baseball. So we're currently less than halfway through the baseball season, but already they're more than halfway to shattering all attendance records in the KBO. So clearly fans are going out to watch KBO games more often, as well as more in droves. And I think a big part of it is the fact that there's a lot of new rule changes this season. So they've got the robo-umps calling the automatic balls and strikes. They've got the pitch clock so that the game is moving along quicker, not as much downtime in the game. You have fewer throws to first base or to other bases to prevent steals, which is providing more action on the base paths with stolen bases. There's no more shift allowed, so we're getting more offense in terms of base hits. There's even less space between bases because the bases are physically bigger. So it's just like an inch or two closer together, but it does help base stealers on the path. So you're seeing much more athletic plays. We're seeing more action, less downtime, and it's in the news. Everyone's talking about it. So it's almost like it's like that restaurant that has a new special on their menu that everyone's talking about. So everyone wants to go out and see what all the hubbub is about, and you're seeing a rise in attendance. I think also having the Major League Baseball season opener in Seoul back in March with the Dodgers and the Padres, I think that's kind of added to the hype as well, saying, hey, baseball's in Korea, or Korea is a baseball country. And I think fans are really supporting that idea.
Right, for sure. And that was something we covered last time we met here, right?
Months ago.
Right. Chiu, I hear K-League has also been witnessing a greater fan base this season. How do you explain that phenomenon?
Yeah, so with the K-League football, they surpassed 1 million fans after just 91 matches earlier this month. That's the fastest pace to get to 1 million mark since the league adopted the promotion relegation system back in 2013. The previous mark was 96 matches from last year, and then they ended up setting the all-time attendance record with 2.4 million fans for First Division, the K-League 1, and about 560,000 for the K-League 2, the second division last year. I think they're on pace to break those marks this year. Now, it's kind of similar with the baseball situation where there might have been some concerns about Korea's relatively poor showings in international events might have an impact on the domestic league's attendance. That has not been the case either in baseball or football. So, in baseball, Korea struggled in the Olympics, didn't win a medal in Tokyo 2021, didn't even make it out of the first round of the World Baseball Classic, but fans still kept going to games in the KBO. Now, with football, 2022 World Cup, they went to the round of 16. I think they had a bit of a carryover effect to 2023 season. But this year, in February, Korea got eliminated in the semifinals at the Asian Cup, not able to win their first Asian title since 1960. And the under-23 team got knocked out of the Olympic qualifying tournament. So they're not playing in Paris this summer. But despite all those, potentially negative situations, fans of the domestic league teams have still been going to the matches. I think it shows that, for the most part, fans' interests are kind of regional and local. So they are able to separate the performances of the national team from whatever their clubs are doing at the moment. And I think also helps that there are more teams in contention for a title this year than maybe some of the recent years in the past. There's a lot of 4 or 5 teams bunched up at the top of the tables. And also at the bottom end, there are 3 teams currently tied in points for the relegation spot for last place. So those teams are trying to survive to stay with the big boys for next year. And then you got a handful of teams fighting for titles. So there's a lot more fan bases sort of, having, I guess, a bit of an interest at this point in the season.
Right, I see. And Jason, back on the baseball ground, if I may, I understand baseball's cheering culture has received quite a bit of foreign media attention yet again. There was a piece by the New York Times, I believe, right ahead of the opening game, that is, for the baseball season this year. What makes the cheering culture here in Korea so unique and fun?
It is absolutely amazing. If you ever go to a game, it's so much fun. And I think the foreign media is just kind of picking up on this now because we've known about this all along. But I think what happened is after COVID, they only played half of the Major League Baseball season because of COVID-19. So they shut down stadiums, they didn't play. And because of the lack of material in North American television, they were broadcasting Korean baseball games in North America. And I think while doing that, people noticed, wait a minute, something's different about the Korean game. And it's not just the game of baseball. These fans are cheering, they're cheering hard, they're cheering loudly. They're being innovative because they're the first to, add the cardboard fans during COVID as well. So I think they realized that the KBO and just the organizers, the fans as well, something was different in a very positive way. And if you do go to a game in Korea, the fans cheer loud. They have the common chant where they all cheer together. So it's not just like, rah, 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 just kind of nondescript cheering. It's actual songs and chants that they're singing that are very easy to pick up very quickly. And I think when foreign media come to Korea and report on that, they're kind of stunned because this isn't the game that they're used to, and it's a lot more fun than they thought it would be.
Right. And Chio, I understand that we can't talk about baseball stadium cheering, that is, without touching upon also the unique menus apparently provided by these stadiums. I'm really embarrassed to admit that I've only been to a couple of games here in Korea, baseball that is, and that was back in the 1990s. I hear it's very different right now.
Well, I would say it's a lot safer to go to baseball games now than back in 1990s. And also, you have the baseball stadium staple of the chicken and fried chicken and beer, right? The chimag, if you will. But there's a lot more to baseball concessions than that. For one thing, in the KBO, you're allowed to bring your own food into the stadium. And there's a lot of variety of choices once you get to the concession stands. And also with one particular stadium out in Incheon, home of the SSG Landers, they've got a barbecue grill section up in the right field bleachers. So you can actually buy tickets there. They've got the whole grill set up. You can bring your own meat and literally just cook your own meat right at the ballpark. So basically, some people just go out. It might feel like people are going on a picnic with the family and friends, and there's a baseball game breaking out in the field. So some stadiums there's quite a bit of a family-friendly atmosphere. One stadium is down in Gwangju, home of the Kia Tigers, the Champions Field. They've got the entire outfield section without the seats, so it's all grass. People bring out the tents to set it up. Basically having sort of picnic-like experience and watching baseball at the same time. So, like I said, the fact that you're able to bring your own food in, I think that's the one major difference between the KBO viewing experience and I guess going to games in Major League Baseball.
Right. I understand the green area there in one of those stadiums also has a playground for children to play in while their parents are cheering their teams on.
Right. That stadium, and also plus the home of the KT Ways in Suwon, just south of, I guess, your studio there. The right field section, they've got the kids' playground section with about a dozen tents set up. So if you can book ahead of time, you can bring your kids, and they may not always be able to pay attention to a 9-inning baseball game for 3 hours. So there might be some distractions, and I think it's there for the kids while the parents maybe watch baseball and then drink some adult beverages out there.
Right, indeed. And now on a more sober note, Jason, I understand concerns are being raised quite a bit about the waste generated at the stadiums after these games. What is the latest on that front?
Yeah, I think obviously with attendance going up, it also means that trash and waste after games is going up as well. And certainly there's always a lot to clean up. If you compare it even with North American stadiums, I mean, they have even bigger stadiums and even more disposable waste. But I think Korea is trying to do our part relative as well. And you've been seeing a lot of movements to try to be more green at the stadium because they're trying to get rid of the single-use plastics. So even just little things like the cheering balloons and bats that they use to kind of slam together to make noise, they have basically banned those so that, those aren't being wasted after games. Although some people do still sell those outside of the stadium. Also for food and beverages, they're trying to switch rather than single-use cups and plates and bowls, they're trying to find other solutions to have multi-use so that some of the drinks and foods that you're eating, they could have been actually used before those containers. However, obviously, they've been well cleaned and well sanitized before its next use.
Right. Meanwhile, Chio, a rather disturbing confrontation between fans and players back in May, that is, at Incheon, a football stadium, also made quite a bit of sports headlines. Could you tell us about that incident and, of course, the actions that followed?
Sure. Well, it was after a match between FC Seoul, the visiting team, and the home team, Incheon United. Right after the final whistle blew, about a little more than 100 fans from Incheon sports section threw plastic water bottles toward the pitch. Some players got actually struck by that bottle. Some of the bottles. It was a pretty ugly situation after the match. Even the match itself was pretty pretty testy, a lot of physical action between the teams, and tempers really flared after the whistle. And the K-League, the league office ended up slapping Incheon United with a fine of 20 million won, and also ordered them to close off their home supporter section for 5 matches. So they've done two such matches so far. There's 3 to go until the start of July. And those home supporter section, they account for about 5,000 seats in their 18,159 seat stadium. So that's bit of a loss, I think, in terms of the ticket sales. And as far as the fans who were involved in that action, about 125 fans turned themselves in. They admitted to their wrongdoing to the team. So for now, they've been banned from entering Incheon matches on one condition: if they choose to volunteer, perform 100 hours of community service, working at some of the Incheon home matches, helping clean up the stadium, they're going to be reinstated after that. So they're still working on, I guess, creating a better, safer cheering culture in some parts of the K-League.
Right, so the fans who threw water bottles are facing consequences then. Moving forward, Jason, Sportscation, it's apparently the new holiday trend these days. What more can you share with us?
Well, I think clearly after they had the Major League Baseball starting their season in Korea, I clearly remember meeting many fans of the San Diego Padres and the LA Dodgers coming to visit to watch that game in particular. But I think also while they were here to watch their Major League teams, a lot of them made it a point to visit KBO stadiums to watch exhibition games, or if they stayed long enough, to catch even the season openers of the KBO. So clearly word has gotten out of how fun it is to watch KBO games. And I think we are seeing more and more people, maybe not necessarily coming to Korea just to watch KBO games, but certainly when we go to Korea, we have to make sure that we're checking out a KBO game while we're there. And I think we're seeing more and more of that. And every time that I've gone to a KBO stadium, I've always seen a big contingency of foreigners there to check out the games. And they're always very satisfied and amazed at the ambiance there.
Right. Hopefully if they're lucky enough to get tickets, though. I understand most of the tickets for these games are sold out at the moment.
On the weekends, it can be more difficult. Weekdays, I mean, if they're here on vacation for weekdays, it's probably a better time to go. But yeah, usually Saturdays, Sundays, very tough ticket to get these days.
Right. Jeeho, what are some events to look forward to on the football field for the remaining season?
Yeah, with the K-League, I think the race for title is going to get really interesting. There are top 5 teams that separated by only 4 points on the tables. 2-time champions, Ulsan Hyundai, Ulsan HDFC, they've got 31 points. But Kimcheon Sangmu, the team made up of soldiers, basically, the players serving in the military, they're right behind them with 30 points. Now, with Kimcheon, that's a really interesting case because no military team has ever won a K-League title. But their talent level kind of fluctuates depending on who's serving in the military at the particular season. Now, this year, they've got some really talented players, including Lee Dong-kyung, former Ulsan player, who's now trying to topple his former team with Kimcheon. He leads the league with 12 goal involvements, 7 goals and 5 assists. So he's going to add to their offense going forward. And also at the bottom of the tables, 9-time champions, Jeonbuk, Hyundai Motors, trying to avoid relegation for the first time in their franchise history. The last place team will get directly relegated to K-League 2. The 2 teams above them have to survive the playoffs against the K-League 2 teams at the end of the season to stay in the K-League 1. So some drama there, I think, potentially toward the end of the season. With the national team off the field, Korea is still looking for their full-time head coach for the men's national team. They played the past 4 matches under caretaker managers. Most recently, Kim Do-hoon, who coached the Korean team to wins over Singapore and China. 3 months on to the next match in the 3rd round of the World Cup qualifying. Ideally, they're going to name a new coach pretty soon so that the new coach will have some time to, 1, potentially if he's a foreigner, adjust to life in Korea, and 2, go around the K-League, scout some new players, and then have some sort of foundation ready to assemble the next edition of the national team for September.
Right, I see. All right, Jeeho, that's about all the time we have today. Thank you so much for your time and your thoughts today. And Jason here in the studio, thank you very much for your insights.
It's been a pleasure.
Right, well, that ends this edition of Issues and Insiders. Thank you for watching. See you same time tomorrow.